going to ask some fast questions and top 3 tips for writers. Okay, Tristan, are you ready?
Yes.
Full name?
Tristan Jim Banks.
Where did you go to school?
In the Blue Mountains, west of Sydney.
Did you love school?
I did not love school. Well, I didn't mind it. I liked sport and I liked friends and I liked the canteen. They had really good stuff at the canteen. But overall, it was the work bit that I found challenging. That when teachers would ask you to do stuff, I didn't like that bit very much.
What was your funniest memory?
My funniest memory was probably, well, it wasn't funny at the time, but in retrospect, it has turned out to be funny, was the time that you tried to make me eat Vegemite off your big toe. You know when you used to do all those horrible things to me and you would, like I'd have to be a slave for you because you threatened to tell mum about something horrible that I had done. And then when I was about, I don't know, I was quite young, like maybe I was only 6 or something like that, and you tried to get me to eat Vegemite off your big toe and I wrote a story about it. Everything that I've written in my Tom Weekly books is true. All the stories about you, I have made other things up, but the basis, I actually, in the story about the Vegemite toe, Tom takes his revenge on his sister and bites off her toe. And that's why I became a writer, really, to get over the trauma of childhood, and most of it was caused by you, actually.
For the record, I can categorically state that event did not happen. Other things happened, that event didn't.
No, it did. And then in this book too, in the new Tom Weekly book, I have a story and it's called Hostage, and it's about Tom coming home and his sister is holding his guinea pig out the window, and he says, "What are you doing?" And she says, "Give me all your money or the guinea pig gets it." And he says, "What?" And she says, "Give me all your money or I'm going to drop your guinea pig out the window." And he says, "I don't have any money." And then she's like, "Liar!" And the guinea pig's eyes nearly pop out of its head, and the guinea pig's out the window just clawing and like begging him to do something. And so he goes to get his money, but he's got to try to work out how to hold on to his money and also try to not let the guinea pig die. And even though I didn't actually own a guinea pig, I must say, and you didn't hold said fictional guinea pig out the window, I knew exactly how to write that story because the dialogue was so true to me. It was so real. It was just the kind of thing that you would say to me when you're a child.
Finish this sentence. I became an author because...
I became an author because I needed to work through some of the trauma from childhood and the very difficult things that I was put through by my sibling.
Would you say your sister's smarter than you?
No, I would not say that my sister was smarter than me. Why would I possibly say that? I've written all these very educational books about guinea pig hostage situations and feral, possum attacks and stuff like that. Like, clearly someone who's written this many books has to be the more intelligent one.
Top 3 books.
My top 3 books ever. Well, I sort of have like an adult top 3 books that I love, but in terms of kids and like the age that I write for, I really love this book called The Invention of Hugo Cabret, which is kind of a graphic novel. It's about that thick, but it's half kind of full of illustrations. I really love a book called Hatchet, which is about a kid who crashes in the Canadian wilderness and has to survive by himself for a couple of months. And when I was writing Two Wolves, that was the biggest influence on that book. And then what else do I love? I love Tomorrow When the War Began, the John Marsden series. I think that's what really made me realize that you can write exciting books, but they can also be about something. And if I can do 2 more and do a top 5, I really like Morris Gleitzman's Once series, Once and Then and Now and After and Soon and Maybe. I just think he's another author who makes it really funny, really exciting, and about stuff as well, like really rich characters, and I really want to write that kind of thing. And then Paul Jennings' Unreal was like the book that I first read that was most, that I loved most. And the first book I ever remember getting from a bookstore. I think if you read Once, or if you read Hugo Cabret, or you read some of the Paul Jennings short stories, they're like a masterclass on writing. Like anything that I could teach you about writing, you can learn from those stories just by reading them and working out what he does that you love. Okay. I would say doing it every day is the biggest thing. Like even if it's only for 5 minutes, sitting down every day, starting writing, and also not worrying too much about making it perfect. Like I sat down this morning at about 6:30, started writing in a notepad, date at the top of the page. I had to fish around, I didn't even know what the date was at first, and then I worked out, and then I just wrote whatever was in my head, 3 pages, flat out, moved it across, and then jumped onto the laptop and started writing my actual story. And just that thing of doing a 5-minute writing blast once a day, that's enough to kind of make you a writer. And then you kind of build up over time. So I'd say doing it every day, setting yourself a timer and just writing is another one. And also, I think being kind to yourself, like don't be too hard on yourself. It's difficult, you know. I've been writing books for a while and I've written a bunch of books, but every time it's really difficult. It doesn't get any easier. And every time I think, oh no, what am I going to do? This thing's terrible. But I work through it and I work through the problems and eventually it comes out and I end up liking the book.
And is one of the appealing things about writing the fact that it's not quantifiable? There's not a right or a wrong?
Yeah, there is no right or wrong. That's true. There are a few rules that are handy to know. And in terms of like the structure of stories, and that a character has to have a strong want, there has to be stuff that gets in the way of that want, and the stronger the conflict to the want, the more interesting the story. And then there has to be high stakes in a story too. Like the character has to stand to lose something that's valuable to them. Like in Two Wolves, he stands to lose his family. He could, if he dobs his parents in for this crime that they seem to have committed, he loses his parents. And in The Fall, he is on the run. There's a criminal who is after him, and he's also trying to find his father. He stands to lose the relationship with his father as well as potentially his own life. So and even in the Tom Weekly stories, there's always something that he cares about. Like he wants to kiss the girl in his class that he's in love with, but she doesn't love him so much. Or like Stella Holling, she really wants to kiss Tom and he seriously doesn't want to kiss her. But so he has to get away, and the worst thing possible is that he's going to get kissed by this girl again. So there's always something that the character cares about, and I think that's really important.
How important is reading to writing, to being able to write?
I reckon if you're not reading, then you can't call yourself a writer. Like over the years, I've run into writers who say, oh, I don't read, I don't have time to read. And I'm sort of like, you know, there's a quote that, you know, if you don't have time to read, then you don't have time to write, kind of thing. Writers are readers. When I'm reading a good book, if I'm stuck in my writing, it's usually when I'm picking up a book and I don't like it and I put it down, I pick up another one, I don't like that and I put it down, and I'm moving around and I never quite settle into a book. But when I settle into a book that I really love, I find the words just start flowing and I write much more easily too. So I reckon just always searching for that next great book, even though I don't love half the books I pick up, I don't love, but I'm always on the search to find the next great book. When I was a kid, me and my friend Luke, we used to do What Would You Rathers. We would stay up late and you know, when your friend comes over and at like 9 o'clock at night, your mum says, okay, turn the light out. And you go, yeah, no problem. And you turn the light out. Then you keep whispering. Then at 10, they come in and say, are you guys still talking? You've got a big day tomorrow, okay? Just leave it off, you know, go to sleep now. And then you go, yeah, no problem. And then like at midnight, you're still talking. And then one of you goes, ah! And then like you're like, oh no. And then you hear the footsteps coming down the hall and like your mum comes in. She's got like cream all over her face and her hair's all crazy. And she's like, what are you guys doing? Anyway, it might have been just me. But we would always be asking each other, what would you rather? So in all the Tom Weekly books, apart from the first book, I think, I have had what would you rathers. And I might ask you some now. Okay, are you ready? Would you rather get a tattoo of an emu on your forehead or a tattoo of your worst enemy on your bum?
Oh, totally the tattoo. Because you can't see it.
Tattoo of an emu, or your worst enemy on your bum?
Definitely.
Really?
100%.
What if your worst enemy was an emu and so you've got an emu on your... It'd still be better on... Yeah, okay. Would you rather be hit by lightning or never use technology again? You survive, you don't die.
100% hit by lightning.
Oh, really?
Yes.
You'd rather be hit by lightning?
Yeah.
Most kids say that too. Most kids, like 92% of kids say they'd rather be hit by lightning. Okay, and the last one, which I really like to use, which is a kid sent it to me, is would you rather put a thumbtack under your toenail and kick a concrete wall, or have paper cuts all over your body and dive into a pool of lemon juice?
Yeah, neither.
Well,
No.
you can't say neither.
Neither. I would not do either of those things.
But that's the whole point. You have to choose one.
I didn't choose to play this game. This is your game.
See, this is what I had to put up with during childhood. You'd have a perfectly good game like that. There are rules set out, and then she just wouldn't abide by them. Anyway, I would probably rather have paper cuts all over my body and dive into a pool of lemon juice, I think. So the reason that I do what would you rathers is that the reason that I think they're good is that they work on the same principles as good stories, in that in a story you want to put a character in a situation where they have to make a decision, but whichever way they turn, it's a really bad choice. Something really bad happens to them either way, and you're constantly putting your character in jeopardy in that way. And so a good what would you rather is one that divides people and where they can't make a choice like you couldn't.
Okay, thank you very much, Tristan Banks. That's excellent. You will be hearing from my lawyers about all your lies. And remember, I do have on camera that the Vegemite incident never happened.
It did.